Swift.
England must respond as Bangladesh welcome them to Dharamsala, where they've already picked up the points and they sit ahead of the defending champions in the points table. It's another double header on Tuesday. I hope you've set your reminders in your calendars, because these double headers in this World Cup is moving thick and fast in its second round of games. Bangladesh against England is where our attention lies. Fixture that you might think is well in favour of Jos Buttler's side. But Bangladesh are a bit of a bogey team for England when it comes to World Cup cricket. They did it in 2011 when Shakib was captain. They did it in 2015, which sparked the English Revolution. So let's hope for a good one today. On Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Matchday. It's a very good morning to Dale Steyn and Wasim Jaffer as the days keep moving along. I had to set my alarm right today. I almost missed the first minute of the show. I'm sure Wasim also did. Only Dale was here on time. I think Dale's been sleeping here in studio, hasn't he?
I honestly don't think I've slept yet in the 10 days that I've been here. So what did you even say?
Yeah, that is regardless of the timing.
He's the in-house guest.
We seem like the foreigners now. Yeah, but we should have some fun here, because this is not as one-sided a fixture as it may seem. Wasim, Bangladesh in these parts of the world do play with a lot of pride, and they get a lot of pleasure in toppling or slipping up England, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and they've upset England a few times. And the way they are playing, they played a good game against Afghanistan, and they've got most bases covered. You know, their pace bowling is pretty decent. They won the toss today. There'll be a little bit of help at the start. You would expect that in Dharamsala. So yeah, they'll be fancying their chances. Yeah.
As we just look at the head-to-head record, these two teams, in particular in World Cup cricket, and that is where I guess the interest in this game lies from a Bangladesh point of view. Back in 2011, you had Imrul Kais seeing them home in a tricky chase. Then in 2015, fantastic Mohammedullah 100 at Adelaide, followed by Rubal Hussain 4 that made it 2-2 in World Cups, and that is really good if you come to think of it. That's the games that we're talking about. The edition in 2011, low-scoring thriller in Chittagong, and then in 2015, Bangladesh really grabbed headlines by ensuring a result that effectively meant they would go on to the quarterfinals and England would not. But we did see how England responded in ODI cricket. Dale Steyn, it's a response required now from England. I don't know if they would be too bothered about dropping one game, but I guess it's the manner of how they dropped that game against New Zealand that makes us think, oh, is this the same England team?
Yeah, I think that's the big question marks that's in everyone's mind, is how they're going to come out and play today. I've liked the way that England have played their cricket of late. Since 2015, they changed their game and they wanted to take on and be attacking and whatnot, and they ended up winning a World Cup, which was great for them. But I feel like now, in 2023, in India, adapting to the conditions has obviously been a bigger key. And when I watched them play against New Zealand the other day, it just felt like nobody kind of adapted. Everyone just kept coming. Their batters just kept coming. And when they should have scored 350 or 340, they still got close to the 300 odd mark. And with the ball, it just felt like they just wanted to keep coming. But they never really had the tactical awareness that New Zealand had in that game in those conditions to be able to take wickets. And hence they only got one wicket. And it was a down the leg side, 1-2. So are they going to be able to adapt to the conditions that this World Cup's going to offer them? Because the way that they're talking, and Jos Buttler has said, is that they don't want to do any defending. They don't want to defend their World Cup. They want to attack. And if they're going to do that, they might just get caught somewhere along the line. And, my worry is that come halfway through the tournament, they start to doubt that way of playing. I don't know. But there's a lot of buy-in from this team, and they're a very, very good cricket team. So they could prove me completely wrong and make 500 today and smash them with the ball. But I think adapting to the conditions is the biggest key for England. And if they can do that, they're going to be totally fine.
Well, they made a selection call that perhaps indicates that they are adapting to at least conditions in Dharamsala in this game. We were wondering whether they would stick with a two-man spin attack. That has been answered now. Reece Topley will get his first game of this World Cup, and he comes in for Moeen Ali. So they're happy to have Adil Rashid there. They obviously bat deep anyway, so they have no qualms about the likes of Sam Curran and Chris Woakes all moving a number up, because it still looks like a formidable batting lineup which goes as deep as Woakes at 8. No Ben Stokes yet, as we were expecting, and no other changes. So let me get a reaction on that firstly. Dale, the return of Reece Topley, but for Moeen Ali, as Adil Rashid is your frontline spinner?
Yeah, I like Adil Rashid. I think leg spinners obviously bring something different into the game. I suppose
Reece Topley?
Reece Topley, I was going to get to him, but I'm thinking of Joe Root potentially bowling a couple off spinners there for them too. And Topley could be a couple matchups. You know, everyone sits with their video analyst and they go through the games, and potential left arm seam could be something that works against Bangladesh in the past, and that could just be a match for match kind of player that they've brought in. They bat real deep. Sam Curran can still bat, Chris Wokes. So there's a lot of batting there too.
Yeah, that you can say there was an improvement on the seam bowling attack. Otherwise, it looked like a pretty blunt, fast bowling attack against New Zealand, didn't it, Wasim?
Yeah, I mean, comparing Sam Curran to Reece Topley, he's got a bit more height. He swings the ball, bit of pace as well. So that might trouble the openers, and I like that change. This ground doesn't help spinner, but saying that Bangladesh have taken 6 wickets against Afghanistan. And I think going with another seamer is not a bad option. So they've got bases covered. They just need to deliver. I mean, come out and bat really well. The one thing, you know, sometimes we talk about their attacking approach. Sometimes I feel they overdo it a little bit. That's what they need to worry, and that's why I feel David Malan and Joe Root plays such an important role in that batting lineup.
I'm surprised to look at these numbers, and yes, we are talking about their batting, but if you just spend a little more time on that, Reece Topley was, his stocks are rising in T20 cricket. That's what we've seen over the years. David Willey's become quite the bowler. We associate him to be, you know, maybe a bit of this and a bit of that in the shortest format, but that's good numbers for David Willey in ODIs, that is post the 2019 World Cup. And you've got Topley there. Sam Curran, though, I'm going to get to him more in detail, especially him bowling in India. But do you sense, with you mentioning that this was it almost seemed like they had one plan and it didn't work. They need a point of difference. Now, is Topley that point of difference? Could they have considered someone like David Willey?
Yeah, look, I think Sam's probably higher rated in the sense that from a batting point of view over Willey, so they've won him in there, and he's been really good for England over the years. I know that average doesn't probably suggest that, but I still think that he's a really good player. But Topley does come in with some form. He's been really good of late, and as Wasim was saying, he's got something different about him. He's quite tall, he can rush you at times, he bowls a good Yorker, and he's been picked up by a lot of teams around the world in the shorter format, and I think that's helped his confidence when he's gone into the 50-over format for England. He's kind of made a return. He was injured for a while. He's come back and he's bowled really nicely. So England making a nice change today, and hopefully it works for them, because they certainly need to get some points on the board and get their World Cup going now.
Can you imagine if England drop points today, the effect it might have on the rest of the World Cup, on England itself? This is a game we're expecting the defending champions to respond, and Bangladesh, with the sense any kind of vulnerability, you know how they can get into the opposition's minds. Now they've made a change of their own. Have Bangladesh. Shakib Al Hasan is the kind of player that you think will not hesitate if it means leaving out a big player if the situation demands. But Mahmudullah, who we're talking about as the match winner back in Adelaide in 2015, misses out today, and they've gone with Mahedi Hassan. Often we've seen the duo of Mehdi and Mahedi, so Mehdi Miraz and Mahedi Hassan, with lots of overs of off spin. Now I'm curious on that selection. I don't know if there's any injury that Mahmudullah is carrying. I don't believe so, Wasim, but what do you make of that?
Well, I think they've gone with a specialist spinner. Probably thinking they've got a couple of left-handers in England side, but Moeen Ali is not playing.
Yeah, they had literally, I think, just Malan.
Yeah, and then Nasum Ahmed was another left-arm spinner which they didn't pick, and Mehdi Hassan can bat. We've seen that in Asia Cup. So they probably think, like last game, the spinners picked up wickets, and England like ball coming onto the bat, so they think that spin might do the job. Mahmudullah Riyad is a batter more than the bowler, so they've gone with a bowling option rather than the batting.
Do you sense his stocks? We talk about stocks rising for Topley, but Mahmudullah stocks just seem to have gone down after what was a most impressive 2015 World Cup, where he was getting hundreds. You know, Bangladeshi batters didn't get hundreds in those conditions until then.
And he was captain for a while at that time, and then suddenly, you know, that's what happens sometimes in Bangladesh. And if it was not the World Cup,
sorry, I was waiting for you to say that.
I think it would have been curtains to his career. So just because it's such a big ICC event, he's made a comeback. But yeah, he served Bangladesh cricket, you know, quite considerably.
Yeah, absolutely. No Mahmudullah, they go for the extra spinner. Just if you are lining up against England, this is a smallish ground, Dharamsala, small boundaries. Can this potentially be a masterstroke, or this could be just playing into England's hand? Because if you get a spinner at that kind of ground, with how England are going to play now, is this a risk? They could have got an extra bowler if they needed to. They could have got more batting, a specialist batter if they needed to. But spinner for a batter?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a risk, but it's part of the way that we see some of the subcontinent teams play. You know, at the end of the day, when they're under pressure, who they're going to turn to? They're going to probably turn to a spinner, regardless of what the pitch field, size is. It's just what they feel comfortable with doing. If you're in South Africa or Australia, you're going to go with your seamers, so to speak. So I feel like they've gone with a gut feel, and they feel like this is what's going to work with them. And we'll see how it plays out for them today.
Well, and they're all three seamers doesn't bat. So getting another seamer, probably Hassan Mahmood, who's a very good bowler, but again, he doesn't bat. So it makes their tail longer.
Sure. And I think Nasum would also be in the same category. He's not much of a batter, is he?
Yeah, he's a decent batter. I mean, he did well against India. I remember in that game where India lost a close one. But he's a better batter compared to any other.
That could have been perhaps the option with the right-handers England have. Anyway, we'll see what kind of tactical results they get for this selection. But more than teams, etc., the build-up to this game has been surrounded by talk about the outfield at the HPCA Stadium in Dharamsala. They didn't make for pretty viewing in that Afghanistan game. We saw a couple of fielders just almost worried for their bodies and their health with the way that they were sliding. So it's triggered some reactions from Jos Buttler, from both camps, and Matt Roller, of course, is our man in Dharamsala. So he's given us the very latest and a bit of a report to understand what's going on with the outfield at Dharamsala.
Here in stunning Dharamsala, where the views are out of this world, but sadly the same cannot quite be said for the outfield at the cricket stadium, which is somewhere over my right shoulder. This first came to real attention, I suppose, earlier this year when a Border Gavaskar Trophy test was moved out of this city and to indoor at short notice due to the condition of the outfield, and it's emerged as a problem again during this World Cup. Dharamsala hosted its first game of the tournament on Saturday between Afghanistan and Bangladesh. Several players slipped over in the outfield, most notably Mujibur Rahman, who was diving to save a boundary, and his knee dug into the sand-based outfield where the grass is really sort of patchy and discoloured at times as well. Jonathan Trop, Afghanistan's head coach, said that Mujib was lucky to escape without a serious injury, and has actually been in contact with England's players ahead of this game against Bangladesh on Tuesday, warning them of what's to come. Jos Buttler, speaking on Monday, described the outfield's condition as poor and even went as far as questioning the integrity of the game and whether or not a World Cup match should be hosted in this city. After Tuesday, there are 3 more World Cup games scheduled here, including India against New Zealand. And we just have to watch and wait, really, as to whether or not this outfield proves to be suitable for World Cup cricket, and whether or not the ICC and the BCCI between them have to make a pretty difficult decision.
It is not a nice position to be in. There is so much to like about the venue and the history and the culture that is associated with Dharamsala. Add to the fact the scenic view that you get there. But first things first, need to get the outfield right. So let's figure that with Dale Steyn and Wasim Jaffer. If you're being told before a World Cup game, you're being advised not to dive, how would that make you feel?
I didn't really dive anyway. Played in the team,
but most of the South Africans, the exceptional fielders in your team, would love to.
Oh yeah, no, those guys, they're in trouble because they all dive. It's not great, to be honest with you. When you're getting down there and you're feeling like this is a situation where you could potentially hurt yourself, you kind of question yourself. And the thing about fielding is that when you are going to dive, when you get hurt is when you kind of go into it half-half.
Yes.
That's when guys tend to get hurt. It's when they go full steam. It feels like they commit to it. They land on their chest or they land on their side. They're able to get the ball back or whatever it is. When they're kind of like half-half, that's when their knees are not extended, like they kind of bent. You dig your knee in, you bang into your elbow or whatever it is, and you can do yourself real nasty. So it's in the back of the mind of these players, and it's not a comfortable position to be in.
So this is almost a 2-pronged risk. One is if you actually dive, because you've seen the outfield. 2 is what you do as a result of not diving, which could also be equally unsafe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasim?
Yeah, I mean, most grounds nowadays, they are sand-based, and that's probably the problem. If you don't have the right technique, then you are in trouble. So if you don't dive, then you should avoid it. Obviously, it's not the ideal condition. Last time when we were there,
Punjab Kings played two games there in the IPL.
Yeah, we went there to see the outfield before the tournament, and they actually relayed the outfield and not relayed the square, and it looked in fine nick. You know, we played a couple of games, it went okay. So I don't know what happened after that, and it's in such a condition. So it's a shame.
So the outfield was in really good condition when you played, when Punjab Kings played the last two games there, the IPL.
Yeah, there was no worry. I mean, we were never told that, you know, something like this happened. I mean, a lot of people dived there as well. So I don't know what happened after that, and it changed.
Yeah, one can only assume that the rain that Dharamsala gets plenty of has clearly had an impact, and it does get these scattered storms. I'm told reliably, we've got Matt there, Mohammad Isam as well in Dharamsala, that there was an electrical storm last night. So thunderstorms come and go, which can't do this outfield any favors. I know logistically it's never easy to organize World Cups, but by God, this World Cup has had its own charm when it comes to organization.
And on top of that, Mohali didn't get any game. I mean,
yes.
You know, I don't know what happened there, but that's another world-class stadium. I think Australia
Mohali didn't get it, Nagpur didn't get any games. Yeah, Nagpur is where Dave Steyn remembers playing in 2011.
So those two world-class grounds didn't get a game, so it's not a surprise.
There's a long line on that, but would you entertain the possibility of looking at the stakes? Perhaps India has plenty of venues. You could move games around. Should that be the right thing to do?
I think so. I mean, I'm not there personally right now, but we'll have a look at today and see how it goes. But judging by what some of the players have said and what Josh Butler has already said, it doesn't sound good. And there are many venues that you could use here. The logistical issue of getting them ready and having all the boards put up and, you know, the camera set up, and that might be an issue. But when it comes to players' safety and players' availability for the rest of this World Cup, you certainly don't want guys going down through an injury because the outfield was not in the right condition. So that is an option that the BCCI and the ICC will potentially have to make.
Yeah, and then we have 3 more games, as Matt pointed out in that piece he did. We've got South Africa, Netherlands next on the 17th. We've got India, New Zealand on the 22nd, and Australia, New Zealand, a day game on the 28th of October. So I guess they'll move the India, New Zealand one to a safer venue. The rest of you figure it out.
And then Hyderabad got 3 games in 4 days.
Yeah, that's right. Hyderabad was yesterday. It's got a game today as well. Who wants to be an administrator and figure this out? But I guess you hear what Wasim, Jaffer and Dale Steyn have to say about this, and yeah, it may be wise, if not a new venue, the existing set of venues already rigged and ready for the broadcast could be an option. But plenty will be, I guess, under scrutiny when we watch this game between Bangladesh and England today. So let's keep an eye out for how that develops. Right, let's head back to a few key talking points when it comes to England, and we were having this chat about England's one sort of dimensional approach, and Josh Butler says, I don't want to do anything about defending. They've got to do something about being able to even defend less than 300, because that's not something that's been happening often. We spoke of the genius, Dale, of this approach, that even when it goes horribly wrong, you're still getting 270, 280. Do you sense, though, that this England team, with a success rate of 44% when it comes to defending less than 300 since 2021, is a team that has holes in their bowling in comparison to 2019, where you had Jaffer Archer and Liam Plunkett and perhaps conditions that helped them? But how do you rate this England bowling and this particular issue that they have?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think their bowling is, I mean, it's not too bad actually. They're pretty good. They've got some good bowlers there. It's their batting that I really think is a problem. I mean, we spoke about, even though they still keep going, they still managed to get to 300. That's great. You know, it's a great story, but you're still 40 runs short. You know, you're still 50 runs short, which is not going to help you at all. And then you really got to rely on your bowling. The key thing that I've listened to them speak about over the last few years is that they're going to go hard with the bat. They're going to go hard with the bat, but they haven't really been able to find someone that can replace an Archer when he's gone down. You know, or somebody who can hold things steady. Chris Woakes kind of does that for them. He's pretty good. Mark Wood's come in and he's being used as like somebody who takes wickets. But in India, if you're just off the mark, you're gonna travel. And we've seen the quick bowlers that have been able to tighten their lines and bowl good lines and lengths and everything have been effective. Bumrah was good the other night. Siraj was good. You know, all the Australian quicks were too. But if you just want to run in aimlessly and try and bowl as fast as you can and thunderbolts, which is nothing to against Mark Wood, might be the message that England have given across to him. It's not really going to help in these conditions. So getting here to India, they've got to be able to essentially adapt with who they've got in their squad right now.
To just continue that conversation, Wasim, and you know Sam Curran well. You spent time with him in the Punjab Kings dugout. And Sam Curran, the bowler in the T20 World Cup last year versus the IPL this year, you could sense that conditions were not ideal for him. As we look at his overall record in India too, this is a very likeable player whose stocks are on the rise in every format. He stood in as captain as well for the Punjab Kings, feisty character. But in India, Sam Curran averages 61 with the ball and 39 in T20Is. So strike rate doesn't help either. Economy is on the higher side. Do you sense that Sam Curran is more limited in India? Are there things that he can do to be more effective like he is elsewhere?
Well, obviously, first of all, he's not a tall bowler who gets that bounce, and he's not somebody who's going to touch 140. So that's probably the drawback. And I feel sometimes he struggles on the shorter boundaries. You know, we've seen that in T20 World Cup. He played in Australia, bigger grounds, and his slower deliveries are very, very effective. He's got those variations. But in India, sometimes I feel on the shorter boundaries, in last year at least, we felt, you know, he struggled a little bit. And if the ball's not swinging, there's not much that he can do. And the pace, obviously, it's around 130s, early 130s. So that's probably where I think he lacks. So that's about it. I mean,
did he ever, I don't want you to pass notes outside class, but did he ever sort of appreciate that too, that yeah, this is a lot harder bowling in India, you know, and try and almost find what potentially could be ways to be successful for a bowler of his skill set?
I mean, he's got a lot of variations. You know, when he bowls well, when he's in that rhythm, he does come good. But yeah, I mean, the batters, when they know that somebody is not bowling 140 clicks, you know, sometimes they come charging at you and, you know, plays those shots, which they probably won't against those bowlers. So, and obviously, he hasn't got that kind of a bounce where batsmen, you know, are a little bit on that back foot.
What would be your advice to him for bowling in India?
Yeah, I think it's clever to when you use him, and Wasim was spot on. You know, without the pace and there's not as much swing and that happening here in India, then you're going to find batters will attack him early doors. So potential field placements is going to work for him. Does he have third man up? Does he have a guy out somewhere where he necessarily wouldn't have him in the first 10 overs in that power play? That might be something that he could work with, because at the end of the day, we know all bowlers are looking to do the same thing. They're looking to hit the top or off stump, try and find that length that's going to hit the top or off stump, and he's no different. It's just field positions, you know. When I'm tall and I'm getting a little bit of bounce, I'm landing the ball in the same place. It's going more behind square. When you're short, it's going more in front of square. So for him, it's about finding where he wants to have his fielders. Now, if they're going to be attacking and they're going to have a lot of slips, guess what? He's going to go for runs. And then when you come back in your second spell, as Wasim said, with the fields being so small, you can continue going for runs when they're looking to attack. So for him, it's potentially about just field placements. It's about finding where he's going for runs and trying to cover those areas. Get fielders into areas where he feels the ball is going to get him more wickets. And sometimes, getting a guy caught at mid-wicket and caught at short cover is as good as getting a guy caught at first slip in England. That's adapting to Indian conditions.
100%. Does his role somewhat change? I know it's for the second innings. Does his role somewhat change with the inclusion of Topley? Does he still take the new ball, do you sense? Because you already have Chris Wokes at one end.
Yeah, I think Wokes should actually take the new ball with Topley and then bring him in first change. I know that he does like to swing the ball, but Topley, you're bringing him into the team, and that's exactly why you're bringing him into the team. So it might help Sam Curran a little bit. It might take away what he likes to do, is run in and swing the ball, but now he might be able to bowl with third man, fine leg up potentially, and use his change of pace. And if there's a couple wickets that fall early, then he may be allowed to try and swing it thereafter. But otherwise, his role might change, where he might have to just be more of a holding role and pick up the odd wicket here and there.
Yeah, that's of course a conversation for the second innings. But there's a very feisty matchup in store in the first. As England are batting first, Shakib's put them in. Josh Buttler versus Taskin Ahmed is perhaps one of the more compelling contests to look forward to today. And as we just have a look at the record, you could see its favour in Taskin. Not a lot of bowlers can claim that, but 3 out of 6 for Taskin. The wicket of Josh Buttler and just the 51 runs scored in 39 balls. Can you think of what accounts for this? He's a skillful bowler, Wasim, Tashkin Ahmed, but something about him that perhaps makes a player of Josh Butler's quality uncomfortable?
Yeah, I mean, he bowls, again, he bowls at good pace, and he's tall, he hits that deck really nicely. And I feel, you know, he's got something about him. And when the bowlers bowl in that channel, you sometimes feel Butler is in trouble. You know, we've seen that with Shami as well. We've seen that with Naseem Shah in the World Cup. He just bowls that length, and he's got that bounce, which troubles best of the batsmen. So again, he's going to bat at number 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Taskin would be bowling at that stage, or how effective Taskin would be at that stage. But I just feel as a whole, as a batting unit, their approach about going really ultra aggressives, sometimes I feel the wickets aren't as flat as they are in England when they play the ODIs or T20s, so they need to be careful. The Indian wickets are sometimes too paced. When it's to their liking, I won't be surprised if they'll get to 430 or 450. But if not, you know, you find themselves.
Yeah. Can Livingston and can the guys in the middle do what Kohli and KL did the other day in those tricky conditions? That's what comes out for me. Yep, when it's flat, sure, they'll make 430, 450, potentially 500. But in that middle period, can those guys do what guys that have done it here time and time again? Can they do that? Can they play that innings?
If the wicket's tricky, can they, you know, come down to the gear and rotate the strike like they did?
Well, they have a man who does that as the game's underway, but it's a nice conversation to have. Joe Root does exactly that. They just lost his wicket at a really bad time now. You want to go hard at him for trying reverse sweeps too much. He's doing that all through his innings now, and he's still averaging 81 or 83 against pace and 51 against spin. So that's Joe Root's ODI record in India. It's a phenomenal record. You just need Joe Root to bat along, Steyn? Simple as that?
Yeah, he's the kind of guy, you know, he is that kind of goalie. He's your go-to.
You know what goalie means now?
Right? He's your go-to, you know, he's batted in test matches. That's the thing I love about test match batters, is that they've got good techniques, which means they've got good defense. So when the ball is spinning sideways or the ball is nipping sideways, they're able to counter that. And also, he's made big hundreds before in the test arena, which means that he knows how to bat for long periods of time. Your new guys that are coming in, your Brooks and your Livingstons, they are dashers. You know, they want to score at a strike rate of 100 plus all the time. And you'll see Harry Brook the other day, he's gone for 17. Can he just knock one on the head and take 18 and get on with it? Nope, I'm going to hit this one for 6-2. Gets out. Those kinds of things. Joe Root, different kind of player, different kind of thinking.
Goalie means bullet, by the way.
It means?
Bullet.
Bullet. Well, there we go.
That's not bad, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty good, really.
You could have been given that nickname.
I don't want, you don't want player like Root or Malan to go that baseball way. You know, you don't want all your top 6 or 7 to bat in one way. If they also try and play, because as it is, if Root bats well, he bats in that high 90s or, you know, run a ball strike rate. So you don't want to fall into that trap. It's the only message that, you know, you could give it to them.
It does look like Shakib's changing things up as well. As I recall, it wasn't Mustafizur who took the new ball in the last game. It was Taskin and Shariful, but he started well today against Malan. Right, it's time for a first innings score prediction. This is not going to be as easy a game for England as perhaps some of their fans would have thought when the fixtures were first announced. Bangladesh having won the toss too. Wasim Jaffer, first innings score prediction for you?
I'm going to go 320.
Yeah, I think he just reduced it by 10 because while he started that 3, we saw the one more just beat the outside edge of David Malan. Dale Steyn, seems like there's something in for the new ball bowlers.
Yeah, there could be something in it. Outfield's not great and it's a bit slow. It's a small field. So I'm also looking at that 300 mark, around 300.
300, and you think that's Bangladesh may not mind the 300.
I don't think Bangladesh will mind it, but I think it will be kind of tough for both. So
yeah, all right. Well, what if the wheels come off today for England? You know, so I'm going for the upset.
I mean, I genuinely feel that there could be a chance here. Honestly, I feel like that's a score that Bangladesh would feel comfortable with. And look, that's just my prediction. But England would really need to bat them out and out-bowl them today too. With Bangladesh having a game under their belt, they're ready. And a win, they'll feel confident that they can knock over the holders of the World
My
Cup.
God, they are the most confident team on the planet, Bangladesh. It doesn't matter. So they will be in England's ear today, you think?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm going for it. I'm going for the upset. So I'm going to say 275 or something there and thereabouts. A repetition of what happened there. So this should be a fun game. Thank you very much to Wasim Jaffer and Dale Steyn. More from them as this double-header day moves along. We've got 3 Asian teams in action. Pakistan versus Sri Lanka in Hyderabad is the afternoon game. Anil Kumble will also be with us, as will Farvez, Maroof and Uruj Mumtaz. So we got you covered today with some terrific analysis. Join us at the end of this innings, which should also perhaps be build up to the afternoon game on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Matchday. So much happening. How do you keep track? The ESPN Cricket for mobile app is the way to go. Fastest scores and plenty more. Keep an eye on the outfield too in Dharamsala. Let's hope it doesn't cause any mishaps for the fielders or the players. Right. We'll see you at the end of what promises to be a competitive and compelling 50 overs of the English innings.
Stunning looks, then swift,